Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Crowdsource Commander. As always, I am Chris Cornejo here and we are going to be building this month's deck for Commander Kingdom. As voted on Twitter this past week, I'm building Shadrix Silverquill. What were the other options? Guafa Hazid is going to be a Pelleport deck if people wanted to do that. There was Tienos and Kiro for Group Hug, and then there was Gen, Arcanum Master for Curses. I personally voted for Gen just because Curses seems like a fun, silly deck to me, but Shadrix won, and Politics is also a theme I like. I like decks that kind of approach Magic, not the normal way. So, yes, very much. Our theme for this deck, and the first bit we're going to fill in, is Politics, as you can see right down below me here. We are going to be wheeling and dealing. We are going to be doing as many symmetrical effects as I can, or as many things that target a player and not necessarily myself, or just like your opponent's creatures. I want to be able to spread around favors, garner favor, and last until the end game, at which point I just go full-on aggro and try to kill whoever is the last person standing with me. So, we do have our rules to fill out for this. So our rules for Shadrix Silverquill, I'm going to admit I had a kind of hard time coming up with the rules for a political deck, because the entire point of a political deck is to kind of use all the effects you possibly can in weird ways to, like, benefit the table or garner benefit for yourself. So coming up with rules was a little weird. First one, as much opponent player choice as possible. So as much as I can target my opponents with beneficial effects. We're looking for cards that can do that sort of thing, and we are going to, when we're actually playing the game, be looking to utilize those cards to garner favor. So, like, I can cast this spell. Do you need cards? I can give you cards. What are you going to give me in return? That sort of thing. Just as many cards as we can to do that. The next restriction, the next rule, is a little weird, and probably a little counterintuitive seeming. No attacking. Mostly. So the goal I have with this deck is that I am never going to attack until we get into the end game. Once we get into the end game, I can try to win as much as I can. But I'm never going to attack unless it is somebody making a deal with me to do so. Either against somebody else or against them to trigger something weird. Who knows what. But yeah, no attacking. So we'll see how that goes in this sort of deck. The last restriction or rule is the normal one, which is the money limit. I kind of want to be able to go ham. I don't know that I'm going to use all of this limit, but $1,000 is the limit I set. I'm not planning on spending $1,000 to build this deck. A lot of this is going to be cards I just already happen to have, but yeah, that's where we're going. So, we're starting out very basic. All I have filled out for the deck so far is Shadrix himself and a Plains and a Swamp. We're building this straight up. We aren't just, like, upgrading the precon or anything. Shadrix's precon, actually, it's not Shadrix's precon, it's, who is it? Brina the Demagogue is the leader of that precon for the Silverquill School from Strixhaven. It is pretty fun and political looking to start, but it also has a very, very heavy token theme. I'm not sure I want to do another token deck. The last deck I built was E6, which was already very heavy tokens. Tokens are fine. I'm going to make a bunch of incidental tokens, but yeah, I don't know how many tokens I want just as like a theme, so we're going to be kind of shying away from that. But we have the ways we work. So our normal progression here with the progress bar is I like to start all of my commander decks by building out the land base as much as I can. Obviously, as we build the deck and go on, we might tweak some lands as we find other needs or different things we want to do, but I like having an idea of what my land base is going to look like. So for that, we start on EDH Rec. I know some people don't like EDH Rec just because it can feel a little like easy mode or cheat mode, but I like starting with EDH Rec, getting a nice shell, and then once you're figuring out like the last few steps, that's when you kind of veer off and add your own flavor or whatever you want outside of the top lands. Lands especially, however, I like for EDH Rec because you're going to end up using a lot of those lands for a mana base. There's only so many lands, especially when you're looking for just pure mana producing lands. EDH Rec is going to tell you a bunch of good ones. So Command Tower, I've done my Command Tower spiel every one of these episodes so far. I like Command Tower fine. I like it a lot more in 3-color decks than I do in 2-color decks. I'm going to throw it in just to start, but I don't know if I'm actually going to end up putting it in the final deck. Obviously, it's very powerful. It does exactly what you want it to do. I just don't think it is as necessary of an inclusion in a 2-color deck as it is in 3+ colors. Obviously, if you're a monocolor deck, don't run Command Tower, just run basics. What else do we got? We got Caves of Koilos. Maybe. I don't know that we really need the Pain land. It depends on how much we really want dual lands, or dual color lands. Temple of Silence I'm always down for. Scry lands are always fine, at the very least. If they aren't, great. Like, enter the battlefield tapped lands. I am firmly in the camp that you do not want lands to enter the battlefield tapped if you can help it, or unless they have a good reason for being there otherwise. This is kind of my baseline. Scrying 1 when it enters the battlefield is a perfectly acceptable cost for having it enter the battlefield tapped, and anything much less than that, I have to have a very specific reason for having that land in the deck. Godless Shrine, absolutely will have it in. Isolated Chapels, pretty easy inclusion. Tainted Field is kind of a fun one. So no Myriad Landscape in a 2-color deck. Maybe. I like the other one better, but the... what is it, Blighted Woodland or whatever it is. The problem is you need to be in green for that. Since we're not in green, Myriad Landscape goes up in my estimation, just because getting lands out of your deck and more basics onto the field is always good. But yeah, I tend to go for Blighted Woodland where I can. Tainted Field, I like Tainted Field in theory. It essentially is kind of on the same level of Caves of Koilos for me. I'll throw these in if I really need more multicolor lands, but for now, we'll see. Vault of Champions is the Battle Bond commander-specific land. That definitely goes in there. The Snarls. The Snarls, I don't know about. They seem fine, but in a singleton deck, I don't know. I like them as a 4-of in a constructed deck a little more, because you're much more likely to have one in your opening hand along with a basic, or even a non-basic, Plains or Swamp. Especially right now in Standard, where you have the Triomes still floating around that are all 3 land types. The Snarls seem perfectly fine. I don't know how I feel about them in Commander yet. I fear them, so again, I'm going to put them in that same Tainted Field Caves of Koilos pile where maybe. Orzhov Basilica, I don't like running bounce lands unless you have a specific reason, like you are hitting landfall or wanting to reset a specific land, like it has an Enter the Battlefield ability. By itself, if you're not running like Amulet of Vigor, Orzhov Basilica, and the bounce lands set you up for some pain if somebody at the table is running an early Strip Mine or Wasteland or Ghost Quarter or whatever, and they can set you back real far with these. The games we tend to play on Commander Kingdom haven't featured a ton of land destruction so far, and we're kind of aiming slightly more casual but powerful. Thank you, Oblivious1737. I do think this is kind of cool. A bunch of people have been doing streams recently where you build a deck along with them, including several of our past guests. I know Tomer, Budget Commander, does some build-alongs. I know Mana Curves Chase does some build-alongs every week. But yeah, Basilica is good with land tax, though. Yeah, that's pretty good. That would be a reason. If I end up running land tax, that is a consideration for throwing Basilica in. For the moment, without having land tax in the deck yet, I am not going to put it in yet. Myriad Landscape, I did my little spiel on that earlier. Since we do not have access to Blighted Woodland in this deck, which is the green one that I think is a little better, it doesn't enter the battlefield tapped. I think Myriad Landscape is fine. So, yes, in white and black, we don't have a lot of options for ramp outside of rocks and that sort of thing, so Myriad Landscape it's fine. The Pathway, sure. The Pathways are unexciting to me, but fine. I like my dual lands to actually be able to tap for either, but essentially just functioning as a what do I need this turn style of dual land works just fine for me. Orchard, I don't know what the other 3 players who we will be announcing at the end of this stream are running. Good odds that one of them are at least running white or black, but I don't think I really need that particular effect terribly. Filter lands can make for some very awkward early turns. They are fine mid and late game, but yeah, I don't know. Coveted Jewel, we'll get to all of our mana rocks and other sort of things. That's the next step, actually, after we fill out our lands. The campuses. I like the campuses a lot in control decks. Don't worry, like, at some point we start bouncing all over the place and just throwing anything into the deck we want. I just kind of, for structure for a stream, we're starting with lands, and again, we'll go back and edit things as we need to. The campuses. The campuses are absolutely bonkers and limited. If you are playing Strixhaven Limited, Sealed, Draft, whatever, pick up a campus. They are a higher pick than you think they are. For opponent's choice for Darkspired Dragon. I want as many options that I can either give to my opponents, either directly on a card, like Will of the Council, or cards that I can target with my opponent to get them to draw cards, sort of thing. The whole point of this deck is to garner political favor. So yeah, as many effects as I can that don't just target me or can target other people that are beneficial are good. The campuses, like I said, limited. They are absolutely bonkers. Pick one up middle to late pack if you can. They are definitely not first picks or anything like that, or even first few picks, but a limited deck with a campus in it is going to beat a limited deck without a campus in it if the game goes at all long or stalls out. They are just bonkers in a limited environment. Standard. I have started playing a Sultai control deck that I threw a couple of campuses into, and when you are up against a mirror or just another long control-y style game, the campuses, again, absolutely fantastic. I don't know about them in Commander yet. Repeatable Scry is pretty good. I am going to throw it in tentatively for now, but I am not 1,000,000% sure. Silent Clearing I am tempted to throw in just because card draw in white and black. There's definitely ways to draw cards, especially in black, for life. I'm kind of on the fence about Silent Clearing, but just enough on the I like it side that I'll put it in there. Money, as this one we have a $1,000 limit, so I'm willing to go a little more overpowered with my lands than I normally do. Marsh Flats I will throw in absolutely. Opal Palace, I don't really care. Shadrix is a pretty good commander for this, actually. Torment of Hailfire is definitely going into my deck. It's going to be one of the finishers. There is going to be a Curse's Thubseam. Yes. Opal Palace, again, Shadrix is good for it, but I'm not attacking until it's to win me the game at the very end. I don't really care, so no. I hate the fast lands in Commander. We aren't CEDH. We are planning on playing more than 3 lands before we win the game. If these are not in your opening hand, they're kind of bad. I don't like it. Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse, normally fine. I'm not playing them here. I'm already playing better fetches and sort of things. Unless I really end up with a bunch of landfall stuff or things that I want lands, sacrificing and entering into my graveyard for. So these two are a no for now. Speaking of Fabled Passage, absolutely I like. What do we got? Scoured Barrens. Gain lands are garbage. Don't do it unless you are a specific life gain deck, and life gain triggers a whole bunch of stuff for you. Study Hall is, one? Add 1 mana of any color. Scry X. We can do better. We have different lands that do scrying things already. Not just when we cast our commander. Snowfield Sinkhole. Nope. The only reason I would is because it is a fetchable dual land, but it enters battlefield tapped. We're going to have other fetchable dual lands and or just basics in here, so that's fine. Speaking of fetchable dual lands, I do own... I used to be a Legacy player. I probably will be again at some point in my life when that's more of a thing with in-store play again. So I have a scrub land. I don't need to worry about buying one. I could throw it in the deck. If I end up having the budget at the end for it, absolutely it will go in. For now, I'm leaving it out because that is nearly half the budget of the deck. Prismatic Vista can certainly go in. Hall of Oracles. Again, we aren't really an attacking deck. This is a card we could probably use, but I have other ideas for our utility lands, so we will skip that for now. Off-colored fetches I'm not going to bother with right now. If we have a ton of room and budget at the end, sure, I'll throw them in, but I don't really need it quite yet. And Forbidden Orchard. Forbidden Orchard is one of those inclusions that I see in some commander decks, and I don't really get it. This is a political deck. I can use Forbidden Orchard to give people blockers and things, so this is one of the few decks I am actually going to happily throw it into. Fortured? Who says Fortured? Is that just something you came up with, Card Kingdom? That, I have not heard anybody ever call it Fortured. Utility lands. Where are we at? We have 13 lands for the moment. 38 is what I like to aim for as just kind of a baseline. We're going to go up and down from that. Who knows? But 38 is kind of where I aim before I figure out like my mana curve and any other considerations. Rogue's Passage. Here's the thing about Rogue's Passage. This fits directly into our whole plan because its target creature can't be blocked this turn. It's not target creature I control. So I can make somebody, if somebody needs like a Looter Core is a bad example because it can usually get through on its own, it has Shadow. But like if somebody has a when this creature deals damage to a player thing, I can make that happen for them with a Rogue's Passage if they do something in return for me. So Rogue's Passage, definite include in a political deck in a Commander game. Mikokoro, each player draws a card. Absolutely in this sort of deck. Urborg, I'm fine with. I don't really need it. Vault of the Archangel, I am tempted to throw in just because giving all my creatures Death Touch disincentivizes people from attacking me, and Lifelink, as I'm blocking, can also just help short up my life total, so sure. Ardenvale, I do like being able to make blockers. I personally like the cycle lands. The enters the battlefield tapped is a drawback, but it is offset enough by the ability to just turn it into a card that I like it. Maybe Pigeon, hello. It's going fine. We are almost through throwing in our first pass at our lands into our deck, and then we move on to some other stuff, so we're still pretty early into this. But yeah, we're building Shadrix Silverquill, very political deck. It's good fun. Temple of the False God is fine. It can do some work. I know people go back and forth in EDH circles about Temple of the False God. I'm kind of meh about it. It's fine. It's not super thrilling. If I have room for it at the end, maybe it'll go in, but I'm leaving it out of my initial pass. Secluded Steppe is the other cycling land. I like cycling lands, the ability to turn things into different cards once you have enough lands I like, even though they enter the battlefield tapped. Lochthwain, I'm going to throw it in for now. I'm actually not sure about this one. I kind of like stuff like Mikokoro that is the symmetrical stuff. I'm doing some deck building right now. What are you building, maybe, Pigeon? Westvale Abbey, I don't need it. Karn's Bastion is, again, one of those things where Proliferate is not limited to your permanents or your things with counters, so I can use that politically if I want to. It will go in. Hall of Heliod's Generosity, I do see me having an enchantment sub-theme. At the very least, some amount of curses are going into the deck, so the ability to recycle my curses seems good. The Hall is going into the deck. Whoa. That just kind of refreshed on me, and I don't know why. Weird. Back down to utility lands. There we go. Alright, so Phyrexian Tower. If I really need a sack outlet, maybe? Momir Vig Hack Bulb on a $40 budget. Oh dear, that sounds crazy. I don't know why the page keeps refreshing on me like that. That's very strange. Phyrexian Tower, I'm gonna go with no for now. Having sack outlets is good. But, yeah, I don't know. I think I can find different ways to do sack outlets that are fine. The Reliquary Tower, sure. I could end up drawing a ton of cards. I don't actually know. That one might end up going away. I do like having access to Banland. Shambling Vent with the lifelink is a very good defensive one. Command Beacon I'm always a fan of. Command Beacon, if you don't have one, they're not that expensive at Card Kingdom. $4. Pick them up if you play Commander. They are nuts, especially if you have a Commander that people want to kill a bunch. War Room, what do you do? Pay life equals the number of colors in your commander's color identity. Draw a card. No, we can do other things to draw cards through our lands. I mean, the regular deck is very good, but can only be so good on a $40 budget. I always look to Pauper decks for inspiration when I'm building super budget decks, just because, man, Pauper decks Pauper, especially as a format, this is completely off topic, is very much in my personal wheelhouse, because Pauper, it turns out, is a super grindy format because everything is at a very flat power level. I like long, grindy games of Magic that wear out everybody's spirit, and Pauper is perfect for that, and a lot of those decks cost 20 to 30 bucks. It's fantastic. Moving on. Field of the Dead, no. It's just kind of cheesy, and yeah, meh. Ancient Tomb, if we really need the ramp. Tyrite Sanctum can be fine. I don't really know that I care. In this particular deck, choose target commander that entered the battlefield this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature card and a loyalty if it's a non-creature, so Forge. I could use politically to put +1/+1 counters on other people's commanders. I don't know what other commanders are coming to the table, and that seems like kind of a maybe sort of thing. So, I don't know. Right now, that puts us at 25 cards. I am going to throw those into the deck, plus at least a couple of others that I have in mind. To that end, let's look at one of them. Sorry, I set this up a bit ago, and then I forgot exactly how I did it. So, hopping over to cardkingdom.com real quick, there's at least 2 other lands that I want to throw in here, and we're just going to look them up real quick so y'all can get a look at what they are. Core Haven and Maze of Ith. Most people know Maze of Ith. It is a colorless land. It does not tap for mana, but you can tap it to remove target attacking creature from combat, and it untaps, and yeah, it doesn't deal any damage. Core Haven also is the same sort of thing, just for a bit of a mana cost. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt by attacking creature this turn, which specifically means it does not remove it from combat. It stays tapped, and other creatures can still deal damage to it. Yes, Core Haven, yes, I'm a monster, because this is one of the most political cards I have ever run into. Being able to completely ruin someone else's attack if someone else, the person they're attacking, does something for you is insanely powerful. It is insanely good. Darkspire Dragon, that is the different thing. They serve 2 different political functions. Maze of Ith is slightly nicer to the attacking player because they can reuse their attackers, or I can basically, Maze of Ith, I can let people attack, get their damage through if they want it, and then at the end of combat step, I can untap their creature so they can reuse it as a blocker. I can also just do the normal, be nice to the defender, the attacking player's creature doesn't deal damage, but they get their creature back, so it's a little more neutral. Core Haven is all about the defending player and garnering favor with them, because you can just let them eat their opponent's attacking creature. Oh, they're both going in the deck. Don't worry. That's the point. Just Maze of Ith, people know a little more, so I'm showing people Core Haven on screen. Real quick, I am going to do some behind-the-scenes stuff as I edit this thing to add those lands and everything else into the deck. And Core Haven. Add that card. And Maze of Ith. Add that card. Let us update the preview, save it, and refresh a couple of other pages. This part always takes a second. Where is it at? Refresh that. Refresh our visual view. And let's see if that all worked correctly enough. Yes, there's where our deck is at the moment with the lands. Crowdmander, yes indeed. We are building a commander deck. We're building Shadrix. You can see the rules and kind of what we're doing with it over on the far side over there. I just have to throw in... I do want a goodly amount of basics in the deck. I have 9 more slots for lands, and there's already 1 basic each. So, what were some of those other lands I was looking at for a maybe? Let's throw in an Urborg. If I'm playing Maze of Ith and some of my other colorless lands, Urborg just ends up being real good. Or more useful. Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. Erica, I appreciate that sentiment. I refuse to call him daddy. I don't like my commander decks having that much control over me. Alright, real quick, let us bring back EDH. Gonna scroll past these. What other lands can I throw in that I didn't already? Let's clear my clipboard here. I didn't throw in the Cave or the Tainted Field. There's the Snarl. I think I threw in Silent Clearing already. I threw in Silent Clearing already, right? Yeah, Silent Clearing's in there. There's various orchards. I have some of that stuff. Yeah, I think at this point I just throw in... It's too much dad energy. I am indeed a father. Alright, so we're just gonna go add up 4 swamps and 4 plains each, bringing up to 10 total basics. Which puts us right at 38 lands. So that will do for now. If I end up thinking of other lands that we want in the deck, then we can deal with that later. For now, there's that. So we're at there. 38 lands. Whole bunch of other lands. We have all our basics. Cool. Not bad. Hey, don't correct that spelling of 2. That worked fine, because there would be 2 dads with Shadrix and me in the deck. Although, knowing Magic, I'm probably going to end up adding other cards that people will want to call that sort of thing, but I'm going to ignore that for now. Moving on to our next bit, we just do generic ramps and rocks, of which there's not a ton in white and black, but there are enough. The first one of which is going to be a new toy, Archaeomancer's Map. Archaeomancer's Map is one I absolutely want to try out. For those of you who don't know what it does, when Archaeomancer's Map enters the battlefield, search your library for up to 2 basic planes. Oh, I'm on the wrong view, that's why y'all can't see this. There we go. So yeah, Archaeomancer's Map. There we go. When Archaeomancer's Map enters the battlefield, search your library for up to 2 basic planes cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle. All perfectly well and good. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, if that player controls more lands than you, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield, so you essentially get to keep up with everybody else on board. It is a white version of something like Exploration. Or no, not Exploration, Burgeoning. That's the card I'm thinking of. I think it has a ton of potential in these kind of decks, which is any white deck for what I mean for these kind of decks. So yes, Archaeomancer's Map definitely goes into the deck. We could do a Wayfarer's Bauble if we wanted to. I don't think we're going to be that hurting for lands and whatnot. We have 38 start, which I think is a fine number, along with Archaeomancers. The rest of these artifacts we'll get into later. For now, we want mana artifacts. Burgeoning plus balance, aka balancing. It's balance, kind of. Yeah, kind of balance. Like, it's the non-mean part of balance in that it doesn't make all your opponents get rid of all of their stuff, too. So, 4 mana rocks. We want Soul Ring, for sure. Arcane Signet. The color fixing, to me, isn't as important in 2 color decks as it is just 2 mana ramp is good. Same goes for Orzhov Signet. There's a non-mean part of balance. Yeah, it just depends on who has more of what when you cast it. Those are kind of our basic rocky ramp bits. Other things we could do are things like the diamonds. I'm not the biggest fan of them, again, for entering the battlefield tapped. They're fine. They do absolutely what you want them to do. I am a fan of Thought Vessel, because even though it is just adding a generic colorless mana, the doubling down on no maximum hand size with Reliquary Tower sort of effects, it's good to have redundancy of those effects in case one of them goes away. So, now we get into some of the more interesting mana rocks that we can use because we are a weird political deck. Specifically, Victory Chimes, which untaps during each other player's step, and any player gets the mana I tap from it, so if somebody needs an extra mana to make their plan work, I can offer it to them. And then Spectral Searchlight is the exact same version of that card, except it's 1 mana of any color, not generic, but I can only use it once per turn cycle. It doesn't untap all the time. So those two also go in there as weird little political cards that you don't really often think about. I miss Mana Burn and killing people with Searchlight. Yeah, there was a bunch of these like political cards that kind of fell out of favor once Mana Burn went away, just because there were ways to give your opponents a ton of mana. Like, you could donate Braid of Fire or find some other way to give people Braid of Fire, and silly things would happen. But Mana Burn's not a thing, so no more. Coveted Jewel is 6 mana. When Coveted Jewel enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards. You can add 3 mana of any color when you tap it. Whenever one or more creatures an opponent controls attacks you and aren't blocked, that player draws 3 cards and gains control of Coveted Jewel. Okay. What do we think of that card, chat? I can definitely see it being silly. I would love it if it wasn't 6 mana. Like, it is a very good political card. It is enticing people to attack me. Whenever one or more creatures an opponent controls attacks you and aren't blocked. Monarch is less devastating and very political. Yeah, like, I can see ways I can make this work as a political thing, giving people the jewel and giving them the cards and not take damage, like with Maze of Ith and Core Haven and whatnot, because you just have to wait until blockers are declared, then Coveted Jewel triggers. If nobody's blocked, it goes to them, they draw their cards, and then I can activate stuff so I don't take damage. But it seems like a lot of hoops to jump through, and it's 6 mana. I'm going to keep it in mind, but I don't know about it. That seems a little rough. Strixhaven Stadium. Here's the thing. I like Strixhaven Stadium as an idea. If this were more of a Pillow Fort style deck, I would absolutely go for it. This is more political. Strixhaven Stadium just makes people want to attack me. I can build a deck that works around Strixhaven Stadium. I don't think it's this deck for this particular theme. I do like it in theory, though. I'm going to build personal decks that have Strixhaven Stadium in it all the time. I don't know I'm ever going to build one for Commander Kingdom because... Heraldic Banner is meh. Orzhov Locket, I can find easier ways to do 2 cards. But anyway, that is 7 pieces of various ramp bits. I'm going to call that good for the artifacts. And now we can start getting into some of the weirder bits of ramp. Let's just see if any of these real quick are ones that had jumped out to me when I did a quick look. I don't try to do too much foreplanning for these sort of things for Crowdsource Commander, because the entire point is I'm building the deck with you in chat as you watch this stream. So if I have the deck already completely planned out, there's no point. I do give things a quick look, just in case there is something weird that I want to add, like Core Haven, for example, wouldn't have shown up if I'm just checking EDH rec. But, yeah, I thought I remembered there being some things I wanted to throw in here that counted as ramp. Do I want land tax? It's basic lands, it's not just plains, and I am running 10 basic, so I think land tax is absolutely fine to have. Which does mean that Orzhov Basilica becomes a little more interesting. So yeah, let's go throw in Orzhov Basilica. This will be the first deck I build for Commander Kingdom that uses the appropriate bounce land. Alright, so there's land tax. Anything else rampy we can think of that I really want. There's things like, ooh. You know what's actually kind of fun is... So there's the common from Strixhaven. There's, what is it, Core Cartographer, where it enters the battlefield, you search for planes. Or I think multiple planes. I know it's in here somewhere. Where are you, Core Cartographer? You might not be just in creatures, you might be like in top cards or high synergy or something like that. Anyway, it's a 4-mana creature where when it enters the battlefield, you search up some number of planes. I think it might just be the one and put it onto the battlefield, or it just goes to your hand. Whichever it is, it's kind of like the white version of a Wood Elves. However, there is a new one in Strixhaven that I like a lot that I can't remember the name of. It's a common, and it also searches up a plains and puts it into your hand. And let's find out what that was, because I think I want to throw that into this deck. So we are going to have to do some amount of searching for that, because I don't remember what it's called off the top of my head. Gift of Estates is the instant or sorcery, right? This is a creature I'm thinking of. Gift of Estates is a good idea, and I will take a look at it and probably end up throwing it into the deck. But that is not where my brain is going this second. What is it? There's not that many white creatures overall. I think it starts with an S. Let's find it. There it was, Pilgrim of the Ages. So Pilgrim of the Ages is a very silly card in Strixhaven Limited, because one, it thins out your deck a lot, which matters a little more in Limited with 40-card decks. You're finding planes whenever you cast it. It's 3 mana, enters, it's 2/1. Not very exciting. Except that it blocks forever, because once you get a ton of mana, you pay 6 mana, you can return it from your graveyard to your hand, so it's the best chump blocker in Limited in Strixhaven by far, because it will chump block forever once the game gets to a certain point. It also just ramps up your lands. I like it for the ability to chump block forever. I don't think that matters as much. Just pumping out a single chump blocker, stuff like Castle Arvindale is going to be better for that. It's just a matter of, do we really want to be able to search up a basic plains? And I don't know that the answer is yes. Gift of Estates. If an opponent controls more lands than you, search your library for up to 3 plains, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. That is not basic plains. Do I want Gift of Estates? Maybe. I don't have a ton of other ramp, really. I have a bunch of rocks, and that's only like, what, 2 spots I'm taking up so far for ramp? Because there's land tax. I don't think I'm running Core Cartographer or that Pilgrim of the Ages. Sure, we'll throw it in there for now. It might end up getting cut, but yeah, Gift of Estates can be a thing. It is cheaper than Tithe. That is very true. Gift of Estates, we add that. We're going to add land tax. Going to save and go here. Update all of our views. Oh, I think I still need to add in all of my mana rocks, don't I? Get rid of land tax here. That's right, mana rocks, and we had added Orzhov Basilica. So let's add all that in here for now. And we're going to take away one swamp, maybe? We'll see. I might end up adding another utility lane somewhere, in which case we go 4 and 4 on the basics, but for now, we'll go here. That has added a bunch of stuff. And let's refresh some of our other looks at this deck, which is that one and that one. Get back to where I can see OBS. This entire setup, by the way, is just like a mess of windows open on my computer, so it takes me a second to look at everything. Here is where we at. Pole Position is the name of the deck, by the way. I don't think I called that out, because I like naming all of my decks puns, and this is a political deck, so pole position, get it? Okay, I am a dad, I am legally obligated to make those kind of jokes. So yeah, there's our deck so far. We are 38 lands, we have our land tax, we have a bunch of ramp in various different ways. Time to move on to our next step, which is draw and removal. This is going to be fun to do in a political deck, because we can do some silly things with our draw and removal. Alright, we're going to go back to EDH Rec. EDH Rec has a lot of the cards you're going to find in EDH Rec for Shadrix are a little more geared towards a token build for Shadrix. So, not all of these are going to work. However, a lot of them are in here that I do want to take a look at. I am also going to count Monarch as a draw ability for me, because my deck is hopefully going to be pretty good at keeping people, at disincentivizing people from attacking me. Monarch does put a big, huge target on my face, but we'll deal with that as we get there. But Keeper of the Accord is also a very good ramp spell creature thing. I think I'm going to throw it in. For those who don't know, Keeper of the Accord is 3 and a white for a 3/4. At the beginning of each opponent's end step, if that player controls more creatures than you, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. Cool, I'm making chump blockers. Excellent. At the beginning of each opponent's end step, if that player controls more lands than you, you may search your library for a basic plains card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. So it just helps me keep up mana as well. So yes, Keeper of the Accord I'm going to count as ramp so I can throw it in now and not have to think about it later. What else do we got? Secret Rendezvous. This is the sort of card I absolutely want in the deck. Me and target opponent each draw 3 cards. This is garbage if you're playing one-on-one Magic. In Commander, it's hilarious because, boy, do people want you to help them draw cards. What else do we got? Stuff like Cunning Rhetoric I'm not going to exactly count as draw because it's the red version of, like, what do they even call that? The exile draw thing. Temporary draw? I know there's a name they use for it in R&D, but I forget off the top of my head. What else do we got? When Scholarship Sponsor enters the battlefield, each player who controls fewer lands than the player who controls the most lands searches their library for a number of basic lands less than or equal to the difference. Put those cards onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffles. That seems very political. We're gonna do it. Might be a mistake, because ramping everybody at once is a little weird, but you know what? We aren't here to make good choices, we're here to make fun choices. Good lord. Keen Duelist is the Dark Confidant that works for 2 players. At the beginning of my upkeep, me and target opponent each reveal the top card of your library. You each lose life equal to the mana value of the card revealed by the other player. So they'll lose life equal to the card I reveal, I lose life equal to the card they reveal. You each put the card you revealed into your hand. That can count as draw for me. I will throw that in there. Do we have Alms Collector and Secret Rendezvous? Yes! Or Alms Collector I don't think I threw in yet. Secret Rendezvous we definitely did. Rendezvous, not booze. What about Cake or Death Angle? Magister of Worth. Magister of Worth's definitely going to end up going in the deck. Do not worry. Swords I gotta throw in. It's too good not to. Talisman, why is that not in ramp? Whatever. I don't know that I really want Talisman. We have enough ramp. It's fine. Smothering Tithe, I forgot to throw in. That's definitely a ramp. It's definitely going into the deck. Yes. Mind Stone is good. I like Mind Stone a lot. I think I have enough ramp rocks for now. Path, I don't mind. Path might end up getting cut. I'll throw it in for now. Knight of the White Orchid. We have enough effects that do this sort of thing. I'm fine skipping that one. As far as removal goes, I do like Generous Gift if we're being somewhat political, because I can either upgrade something that somebody no longer needs, give them a sudden blocker, or it can just take out a problematic thing. What do we got here? Stinging Study. Draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the mana value of a commander you own in the battlefield or in the command zone. So this would be 5 mana, draw 5. As an instant, draw 5, lose 5. It's not bad. Maybe? Throw it in for now. Don't know if that one's making it or not. Ethereal Absolution is the thing for a token deck. Maybe, but who knows. Mangara the Diplomat. Whenever an opponent attacks with creatures, if 2 or more... Whenever opponent attacks with creatures... What else are they attacking with? What a weird sentence. Whenever an opponent attacks with creatures, if 2 or more of those creatures are attacking you and or planeswalkers you control, draw a card. Whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, draw a card. Sure. Marginal. I am trying to disincentivize people from attacking me as much as I can, so I doubt that one matters much. If they're attacking me with a bunch of creatures, it's probably because they're trying to kill me. I think the second clause is a little more likely to trigger. What else do we got for draw and removal? I'm going to count Selfless Glyphweaver Deadly Vanity as that. Weirdly enough, with Deadly Vanity, I could choose an opponent's creature to be the one to live. Because just choose a creature or planeswalker, not one that you control necessarily. Exile all cards, choose non-land card, exile this way. You may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled. You may spend mana. It's not quite what we're looking for right now. Deadly Vanity is just so expensive. It is. I have no doubt at some point I'm probably going to end up casting it more as Selfless Glyphweaver. But you never know. Yeah, it's very expensive. If I end up with a bunch of other Wrath effects, it's probably getting cut. But we'll throw it into the list for now. The new Mastery cards as well. Oh, the White Mastery that is the Wrath that people can protect things with if you don't pay the full price, that's definitely going in the deck. We're getting there. Vigilance, Protection, Mentor of the Meek. I don't know, like, yes, it's card draw. I don't know how many creatures and, like, token makers outside of Shadrix are going to end up in the deck. Like, if I was going the straight token plan, Mentor of the Meek would be absolutely a thing. But I do not know for now. Magister of Worth. This is what we were talking about earlier. Will of the Council. It's 6 mana for a flying 4/4. Whew, excuse me. Yeah, Mentor of the Meek is very mana heavy. Which is part of why I'm meh on it. Magister of Worth. Will of the Council. When Magister of Worth enters the battlefield, starting with you, each player votes for Grace or Condemnation. If Grace gets more votes, each player returns each creature from their graveyard to the battlefield. Each creature. Wow. If Condemnation gets more votes or the vote is tied, destroy all creatures other than Magister of Worth. So, Magister of Worth is absolutely the sort of card we want in this deck. It could backfire heavily, but most people, when you cast it, you're casting it for a reason to wipe the board out, and other players are going to agree with you. It's very hard for it to end up a 3-on-1 vote with Magister of Worth, so it's almost always the Wrath, and you end up with a flying 4/4. What else do we got? Again, this is mostly focusing on draw and removal right now. Kimball, no. Actual Tesa, not quite. Puts 1 or more counters on a creature they control. Bold Plagiarist is silly, but not for this exact moment. We could Massacre Worm. Massacre Worm feels a little mean for this kind of deck. That feels like a I'm trying to win right now card. And I'm not trying to win until the very end. So, yes. Dranith Magistrate could be a thing. Like, we're skipping around a little. This obviously isn't draw or removal. Yes, Magistrate and Elite Spellbinder are besties. I don't know if I'm doing that right now, though. I don't want to put a target on my head by imposing too many rules, sort of prison-style stuff, either. I personally am all for prison-style decks, and you can build some very mean ones in white-black. I'm trying not to be too mean, I'm trying to be more fun and interesting, but I think I've said this before on this stream, my deck of choice, the one that I built just for me to have as much fun with as possible, was Hannah Prison Eggs, because I'm a monster. So I'm trying to branch out from that side of my deck building and into more, how does everybody have fun and not just me? What else do we got? Timna? What do you do again? At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, you may pay X life, where X is the number of opponents that were dealt damage this turn. If you do, draw X cards. I know Timna is essentially a big CEDH commander, and partners with a couple of other things. Thrasios, I think, is the big one. But I don't know how she is in this, especially just because I'm not doing a lot of attacking in this deck, as is one of the rules over there. Someday I'll get that direction right. So yeah, I don't know. What else do we got? Oreskos Explorer is one of those planes. One of those search up a bunch of planes cards. We have enough, and they're attached to things that are better than a 2-mana 2/2 once they've done their thing. So yeah, I'm cool on that. So we are making a dating profile, not a resume for a drill sergeant. It's kind of a way to put it. I'm more looking at myself as the arbitrator between a divorcing couple. I don't know, this metaphor is getting real weird. I want to be the one who's making deals with everybody. Don't necessarily want to be dating one of them. What else do we got for draw or removal in creatures? I think that might do it. Like, Stalking Leonin is a card I've used before. It's funny. I don't know how much room I have for it here, though. Alright, now we just get into straight up some of the more fun stuff. Before I forget, there are the Mastery cards I am definitely going to throw in. Baleful Mastery is the black one. It is 3 and a black for an instant, exile target creature or planeswalker. However, you can just pay 1 and a black for it, and if you do, an opponent draws a card. Not the opponent whose creature your planeswalker you're exiling necessarily, just an opponent, which means I get to just choose an opponent to draw a card. Which is funny. We're going to come back to some of these later. I just want to get that other Mastery card in here somewhere, and I know it's somewhere in here. Oh, it's Sorcery, that's why it wasn't showing up there. Devastating Mastery, there we go. So we have Watches in our trench coat and not a loan shark. Yes, that is a better analogy. Devastating Mastery is really mana intensive for white mana. Oh, Teferi's Protection's definitely going in. I just wanted to not forget this Mastery card before we got there. Devastating Mastery. 2 and 4 white, destroy all non-land permanents. So, big board wipe, planar cleansing style board wipe, not just creatures. However, I may also just pay 2 white, Wrath of God style mana cost, and if I pay that, an opponent chooses up to 2 non-land permanents they control and returns them to their hand. So, I can be very nice to one opponent with Devastating Mastery, which fits right into what the deck wants to do. Instance. Here we go. It's not exactly removal, but we're right here, so yes, Teferi's Protection definitely goes in. Village Rites I'm going to count as card draw. Shadrix can make me 2/1 Inkling Flyers and sort of things, so I'm going to have creatures that I can just kind of throw away for things like Village Rites. What else do we got? Chroma's Will. If you control commander, cast a spell, you may choose both. Creatures you control gain flying, blow whatever, and lifelink. Not quite correct for what we're doing here. Unbreakable Formation, I don't really care about because, again, that's not the kind of deck I am. If I was the main token theme of Shadrix, then sure, but I'm not going for that direction. Choose an opponent. You gain 2 life for each creature you control, and that player gains 2 life for each creature he controls, and a bunch of stuff. This is interesting. We'll see about it. Meanwhile, Ablation seems good. Yes, Darkspire Dragon, I agree. It is indeed the nice guy removal. Ooh. You know what? We don't have that much of a budget restriction. Deadly Rollic's going into the deck. Potentially free exile target creature. Seems good. Not that flashy or exciting, but not all of them have to be. Flawless Maneuver. Excuse me. Weirdly enough, I don't do a ton of this much uninterrupted talking in my daily life anymore, since, you know, lockdown and everything, so an hour of talking can sometimes do my voice in, and it is right now, which is unfortunate. Enlightened Tutor, I have gone on the record saying I find tutors kind of like easy mode for Commander, if that makes sense. The entire point to me of Commander is you're playing a singleton format. Tutors kind of undo that for me and is more of the realm of CEDH. I don't mind anybody using tutors if they want to, but if I'm building quote-unquote for fun, I like throwing as few of them as I feel the deck can function with as I can, and there's another tutor I want more than Enlightened Tutor in this deck, and I'm not going to have that many spots for tutors, so no Enlightened Tutor. Plum the Forbidden would be good if I was a little heavier token theme. So not right now. Batwing Broom is very funny. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. If white was paid to play it, each player loses 1 life for each attacking creature he or she controls if black was cast to pay it. So, are we doing the I guess I win Sanguine combo as well? We are not. I also try not to throw in infinite combo instant win stuff, if I can help it, into Commander Kingdom decks. The closest I'm going to probably get to that is something like Batwing Broom, that if a player goes ham and goes super wide with a bunch of tokens and swings at me, I can just say nope and kill them. Yeah. But that is predicated on them doing something, not me doing something necessarily. Casual infinite combos tend to make bad viewing experiences, yes. I have no problem if I were to come up with some super janky 5-card combo that people can see coming a turn or two away, that I would throw in just because that adds an element of tension. But, 2-card infinite win combos or just incidental, oops, I played a card and I've won the game combos, not so much. What if Enlightened Tutor is getting great hits like Ancient Den or Tide Hollow Scholar? Approach of the Second Sun with no card draw. Sure, I have card draw in this deck. I thought about throwing Approach of the Second Sun in here. I'm probably not going to, just because that's not exactly a political sort of thing. That's more of a pillow fort sort of card. If I was building Guafa, definitely would have gone for Approach of the Second Sun. But Shadrix won, so I'm not building Guafa. Guafa was an early commander deck that I built, and yeah, has kind of a special place in my heart. Where are we at? Zot's Will. Choose one. If you control commanders, you cast this. Choose both. Each opponent sacrifices a creature they control with the greatest power. Meh, exile all cards, whatever. Professor's Warning is met. Really, Professor's Warning? This seems so... I get it's just to, protect your commander, but... Really? This is Commander. You can do so many more interesting things than Professor's Warning. Call the Coppercoats is one-sided for me. It is good for making a bunch of chump blockers. We'll see. I don't know about that one. Could start adding in some of the DMFC, or DFMC cards. Approach is definitely a very good card in Strix Draft. I picked it up over Will and Rowan, pack one, pick one. Yeah, Strix, I have found as a limited format, to go slightly off topic, is a very grindy limited format. There's a lot that people can do on each turn, but yeah, it does end up being very attrition-y and very grindy, which I personally love. I love Strixhaven Limited. It's great, even though sometimes the drafts can feel a little on-railsy, especially once you get halfway through your first pack or so. Especially by pack 2, you're pretty much on rails. If you want to be, you can try to draft weirder stuff, but it's a little trickier. But the way the games play out, I absolutely love. And if you open up that Approach to the Second Sun, get it. Probably be Silverquill and just pick up all the removal you can. And go nuts. Meanwhile, hey, Imp's Mischief is hilarious and absolutely something I'm throwing into this deck. Virtus's Maneuver should be in there. I will look that up because I have no idea off the top of my head what that does. What is Virtus's Maneuver? Battle Bond. For each player, choose friend or foe. Oh yeah, friend or foe we're going to get to. Like, Will of the Council and friend or foe are two things I'm going to look up in a second on their own. Each friend returns creature card from their graveyard to their hand. Each foe sacrifices a creature they control. Ooh boy, yeah, that'll end up in the deck, don't worry. Oops, wrong bit. That was me looking before we started at the pre-con deck just to see what it looked like, and it's very token heavy. Going back to EDH Rec real quick. What did we just do? We just did Imp's Mischief. There's a couple of other black counter spells I'm thinking of throwing into the deck. We'll get there. But first, we're at the one tutor that I want to throw in here, which is Scheming Symmetry. There's actually two tutors I'm going to end up throwing in here, but we'll get there. Choose two target players. Each of them searches their library for a card, then shuffles their library and puts that card on top of it. This is super risky, but it could be hilarious and is extremely political, so sure. What else do we want? Council's Judgment, another Will of the Council card that I definitely want in the deck. There aren't that many Will of the Council cards that I can throw in here. There's only a few that exist overall, and only so many in white and black, and some of them are pretty awful. Like, what is it? I can have a player get rid of a creature or lose 4 life, sort of thing. Who cares? Tragic Arrogance seems funny. For each player you choose among permanents, that player controls an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker. And then each player sacrifices all their non-land permanents. I don't know, actually. That one, maybe, but who knows. Silverquill command. I can have somebody else draw the card, but I don't know. Meh. Infernal Offering seems pretty funny. Choose an opponent. You and that player each sacrifice a creature. Each player who sacrificed a creature this way draws 2 cards. Choose an opponent. Return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Then that player returns a creature card from their graveyard to the battlefield. Yeah, that seems funny. Let's do that. We already had Devastating Mastery in there. Ambitions cost no. Incarnation Technique, mill 5, then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Demonstrate. Silly, but not something I'm terribly interested in right now. Martial Coup's not quite correct for this. Miria's Call. No. Lingering Souls. I don't get some of these cards for Commander. Just like, yeah, it's in a token deck. It's pretty good. It just seems so boring. It's too low to the ground and limited value good. I mean, it also saw play in Legacy, so it's not just limited value good, but yeah, just 4 1/1s for 5 mana. We can do bigger and sillier things in Commander. Cleansing Nova, I already have a couple of Wrath sort of effects, so these sort of things, I don't know. Kaya's Wrath, I think I like better if I'm going to do one, but I don't know that I need to quite yet. Excavation Technique I will definitely throw in, because you destroy something, but you give them 2 treasure for it, so fine. Debt to the Deathless is a Let's Win Right Now card, especially if you're playing something like Sarah's Sanctum or Cabal Coffers. Not for me quite right now. Oh hey, there's Veer's maneuver. Good call, Darkspire Dragon. Winds of Abandon. Winds of Abandon I like. I like having Winds of Abandon in the deck more than I like having just Path to Exile. So probably get rid of Path to Exile. Day of Judgment, Doomscar. They're there. They're kind of boring. Doomscar I like for the Foretell, but I think if I foretell anything in this deck, people are going to know what's coming. Because it's either like that or Starnheim Unleashed. More Wrathy sort of things. More Wraths. Humiliate's fine. More Tutor. Here, there's our win condition. Torment of Hailfire. And what else do we got? Savine's Reclamation. Return target permanent card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. If this spell was cast from a graveyard, you may copy the spell and choose new targets. Meh. And then we have more tutors. Alright. Draw and removal, I think we can safely say we're done with. Let's move on to theme. We're already pretty heavy into the theme of this. Really quick, I'm going to clear out my clipboard here on EDH Rec and add all of these cards to the deck. Just make sure that worked right. I'm not... I did do 2 of some things, unfortunate. If you do use land task effects, you could also run Scroll Rack as card draw. Ooh boy. That is indeed an option I could do. I accidentally left some of my artifact rock stuff in here, so I have some doubles of some things I don't want. So I'm going to get rid of those real quick. It's going to take 1 second. Spectral Searchlight, Victory Chimes, Thought Vessel. Well, they're grouped alphabetically, so that's not awful. Archaeomancer's Map. Orzhov Basilica, I have 2 of now, and Signet, I think. Yes. Orzhov and Arcane, and Sol Ring. Save that. Does that look more correct? Yes, it does. Alright, let's refresh some of our other looks at this. And let you all see what the deck looks like as it stands. So there is where we are at. Yeah, that is the entire deck right there. Visual view, it's starting to get a little crowded, so I don't know if you're going to be able to see the whole thing at any given point. But yeah, we are 74 cards in at the moment, so 26 more cards to go. We're doing pretty good. If you do use land tax effect Scroll Rack, yes. Let us dive back in. Scroll Rack, huh? Could use Scroll Rack. We'll see about Scroll Rack. Also, look at us being half budget. Where are we at? 492. Oh yeah, don't worry, we'll get there. I will say, once again, I own a lot of these cards already, which is somewhat factoring into some of my choices. I'm not spending $1,000 on this deck overall. Meanwhile, let's clear out our clipboard, and we're getting into utility artifacts, building the theme. There's more sort of stuff that go into the politics side of it. Chief among them, amongst this stuff, there's a couple. There's Tempting Contract, which can also function as ramp for everybody, because at the beginning of my upkeep, each opponent may create a treasure token. For each opponent who does, I get a treasure token. It's not bad. It's one-shot ramp, which is fine. For now, we'll throw it in there. It's kind of on the fence for me, but we'll see. What else do we got? Ashnod's Altar if I need a sack outlet, which maybe. Pendant of Prosperity enters the battlefield under the control of an opponent of your choice. 2 mana and tap, draw a card, then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Pendant of Prosperity's owner draws a card, then that player may put a land card from their hand onto the battlefield. Absolutely that goes in there. That's silly and dumb. This is the other tutor that I want in this deck, is Wishclaw Talisman. Because it gets very silly in EDH. You can do some fun stuff with it. Or your opponents can, and you can get very political with it. Because I already spent $800 on it already, I did not already spend $800 on this deck. I spent way more money on a bunch of legacy land-based sort of stuff. So, yeah. I tell myself it's an investment. We'll see if I ever actually sell them if I need the money. We'll see. Wishclaw Talisman definitely going in the deck. Bloodthirsty Blade I like a lot. Goad, I think, is a pretty hilarious be recovering legacy player. I'm not even recovering. I'm just temporarily on hold while those events aren't happening, and also, I guess, while I'm helping raise my kid. You know, some amount of priorities in life are good, I suppose. Once events start back up after things happen, which might be soon, I might see about getting up some legacy stuff every now and then. Something, what do I do with my 5th Force of Will? I was always very good. I never bought more of anything than I absolutely needed at that moment for a deck. Bloodthirsty Blade. I like it. Yeah, I control Bloodthirsty Blade. I can attach it to opponent's creatures, so they are goaded, which means that it must attack each combat, but it can't attack me. It must attack each turn and attacks a player other than me if able. So I believe we haven't done goad yet as a WTK sort of thing. What the keyword, which is one of our other whatchamacallit video series that we do, where we'll explain what different keywords are in the rules very quickly. We haven't done goad yet. I don't remember off the top of my head if it works where if you and the other player are the last two, they can't attack you anymore, or the must attack part and attacks another player if able. So if the if able part applies to the other player than me, because if it's an and statement where those are two clauses as one thing, that means that any creature that is goaded cannot attack me when it's just down to 2 of us. Then they then hit you. Yes, okay, that makes sense. That was the other side of it I was going to say. So the must attack takes precedence, if possible, but not only. Okay, that's all good. Stuff like Norn's Annex and Ghostly Prison I might end up throwing in, but I want to see what else I can do first. There's all these sort of equipment which are fine, but not really what I'm after right now. The Shadow Spear might be a consideration simply for its other clause, where permanents your opponents control lose hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, because that could be a thing I use for other players to use their removal on my other opponent's hexproof and indestructible things. Which is funny. Which I might do. I could throw that in as a land, though, and not use up the spot in the deck, so that's like, what? What is the card? The Searchlight one? Or the Lighthouse? The Lighthouse, right? What's the card I'm thinking of? Arcane Lighthouse? Is that it? So that's the hexproof one. I thought there was one that did indestructible as well, but yeah, I think if I'm gonna do that, I would actually want Shadow Spear, because Shadow Spear is also getting rid of indestructible, which does a lot of work, especially if somebody's going real cheesy with some artifact sort of stuff. So yeah, I think we end up throwing the Shadow Spear in there. Arcane Lighthouse, wasn't there a rare land too? There was, I can't remember what it was. The Spotlight, that's an artifact. I know there was a Spotlight that did something like that, I just can't remember what it's called. Hold on. Hold, please. Was this Glaring Spotlight? What do you do? It's an artifact for 1 mana. Creatures your opponents control with hexproof can be the target of spells or abilities you control as they didn't have hexproof. Sacrifice Glaring Spotlight. Creatures you control gain hexproof until end of turn and are unblockable. So that does the 1/2. So yeah, I think if I want all of the effects I want in one card, it's going to have to be the Shadow Spear. Just because that does the indestructible part too. And it isn't always on, which is something else I kind of want in this. I want to be able to have people want me to turn it on and give me favors for turning it on. Glaring Spotlight was just always on. Detection Tower only allows your spells, not your opponent's spells, unfortunately. Yes, that was another one. But yeah, so I think Shadow Spear is the one I want as far as that effect goes. Crown of Doom. Whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Target player other than Crown of Doom's owner gained control of it. Activate this ability only during your turn. What? Whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, it gets +2/+0. So that's just something my opponents have to bounce back and forth amongst themselves because I can never have it again. But, I mean, that's okay. It kind of incentivizes attacks, but unless the creatures have trample and they have good attacks otherwise, yeah, like, it's not the worst thing in webcam because it's pretty easy for people to just make up a token that's the crown, but yeah, it's not. If it had a higher payoff, I would do it anyway, but it's like keeping in consideration the webcam stuff as well as the meh, like +2/+0, I'm not going to bother. What can we do? We can do Bolas' Citadel. That's fine, but it's not. It does not fulfill the political part of all of this. Neither do much any of these. Enchantments we might be able to get silly with. Together Forever can be kind of political. Kind of. It depends on my opponents putting counters of any kind on their creatures as well, and then I can save them if they want. Duelist Heritage can be political because it doesn't have to be my creatures, it's just whenever creatures attack. Shadrix puts counters? Yes. I don't know how often I'm going to be using that mode on all of my opponents, just because that one's scary because it's not just put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, it's your opponent puts +1/+1 counter on all of their creatures, or target player does, rather. So yeah, Together Forever could be a thing. We'll throw it in for now. I am unsure of whether or not it works. Duelist Heritage is also a thing I could throw in there. Some of these are on the fence, but we'll see. Monologue Tax. What do you all think of Monologue Tax? I have seen various takes on it. We already have Smothering Tide in the deck, which is just obviously the better version of something like Monologue Tax. But yeah, is Monologue Tax worth it? It is at most 3 treasures each turn cycle if my opponents are doing a bunch of stuff. I think Monologue Tax is better in like white-blue X decks, just or a little more instant heavy decks that isn't just removal sort of stuff. Like high interaction games is a way to put it. My deck is high interaction, but I'm not sure it's like... Yeah, I don't know. My deck is high interaction in a more conceptual way than like on the stack or even that sort of thing. It's just about giving my opponents a bunch of choices. I don't know about Monologue Tax in this deck, especially if we already have Smothering Tide. If this was like big mana do a bunch of stuff deck, then yes, I'd like, I'm very on the fence about Monologue Tax. But it's more than that. At most, it's at most 1 per player per turn. Yeah, it's 3 treasures per turn cycle. I mean, oh, I see what you're saying. So whenever an opponent, so it'd be 8 treasures at most per turn cycle. Because on my turn, if all 3 of them cast 2, then that turn, all 3 of them cast 2. Stuff like that. But that seems very Magical Christmas Land. Like, if the ceiling is 8, the floor is nothing, obviously. I would put the average much closer to 2 or 3. Swap life total cards? Oh dear. Yeah, we can look those up in a minute. I don't know. I don't think many of those are on the EDH stuff, but yes, I will definitely look those up because that's a hilarious idea, Darkspire Dragon. Good job. What does Citadel Siege do? At the beginning of combat on your turn, puts you on target creature I control. Tap target creature that player's control. Meh. Tangible Virtue, Courts, Monarch stuff. Ceiling is way higher than 8. Each player casts 2 spells each turn, 4 treasures per turn. per player? What? It's only whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn. Each turn, which means my other 3 players can give me 3 at most per turn. So 3, 6, 9, 12. Yeah, I guess. But what, again, what is the percentage that we are getting anywhere close to that ceiling? I would put the average that I get per turn cycle, like I said, closer to 3 or 4 maybe. Which again, isn't awful, but stuff like Smothering Tithe is more of a guarantee, has a much higher floor, because even if I'm getting 0 treasure from it any given turn cycle, they are having to pay mana to keep me from doing that. Yeah, Monologue Tax I think is good. Like, I don't think it's bad at all. I just don't know if I want it here. Tithe is definitely way better. I mean, Tithe is going to be good for a lot of things. I'm not sure Tithe is a great direct comparison. When Court of Ambition enters the battlefield, I become the Monarch. At the beginning of my upkeep, each opponent loses 3 life unless they discard a card. If you're the Monarch, instead, opponent loses 6 life unless they discard 2 cards. I like Monarch stuff. I'm going to find a way to get Monarch into the deck. Probably. I feel like it scales with power level. It does. I have no idea of knowing what exactly the power level that our players are going to bring. But yeah, we'll find out. Monologue Tax is a heavy maybe. I think there's more fun things I can be including in the deck, I guess, is what it comes down to. There is kind of a grid that I'm building off of, where like your x-axis, your y-axis is how powerful a card is, and your x-axis is fun. Those two are the sort of axes, and things have to be above the line at a certain point for me to include them purely based on power. If a card is no fun but super powerful, maybe it gets above the line, but if a card is all fun but no power, yeah. I don't exactly know how to word what I'm trying to say, but like, you have to hit a balance between fun and powerful here. If I was just building to try, not even curb stomp, but just for my dark heart as a prison player likes to build in EDH, then Monologue Tax would be an absolute auto-include. Probably. If I'm building Pure Prison, nobody gets to cast spells anyway, because we just go Knowledge Pool, Curse of Exhaustion, but, yeah, we'll see. Some of these are meh, whenever a creature dies. No. Sparring Regimen, I could do stuff like Sphere of Safety. I need to look at how many enchantments I actually have. Yeah, I don't know about stuff like that. Revenge of Ravens is a good incentive for people to not attack me. Especially, at least not with small things and armies that go wide. So I'm willing to throw that in there. Just because it does fulfill maybe don't look at me sort of requirements. Parasitic Impetus. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and is goaded whenever enchanted creature attacks its controller, loses 2 and I gain 2. Meh. Martial Impetus is fired goaded. Whenever it attacks, each other creature that's attacking one of your opponents gets +1/+1 until end of turn. That seems way better. Null Chamber. What do you do, Null Chamber? So, Null Chamber. As Null Chamber enters the battlefield, you and an opponent each name a card other than a basic land. The named cards can't be played. I want people to be able to play Magic in these sort of things. Darkspire Dragon, you are going slightly too evil for what is meant to be an entertaining show. We want our guests to want to come back and play again. I like where your head is at. Not going to say that I don't. Marchesa's Decree. Whenever there's a good way to get Monarch into the game. Marchesa's Decree. Absolutely the sort of thing I'm looking for. The vows aren't bad. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2, has vigilance, can attack you or a planeswalker I control. Kind of like that. Sure. What was the black vow? Did we see the black vow anywhere? Oh, well, whatever. Luminarch Ascension. It's funny, but no. Planeswalkers. Do I want any planeswalkers? Well, planeswalkers get to be really political. Like, yeah, all the planeswalkers just seem good or mean. Yeah. Where am I at? Otherwise sort of things. We're just looking at building the theme now, so what sort of stuff else can I throw in here that builds the theme? Brina is the normal commander for the Silverquill precon. What do? Whenever a player attacks one of your opponents, if that opponent has more life than another of your opponents, that attacking player draws a card and you put 2 +1/+1 counters on a creature I control. That seems good. We'll throw in Brina. Ink Shield is kind of the I win the game card, I guess. Sure, I do need a way to eventually close things out. Ink Shield seems like a fine way to do it. Combat Calligrapher. Inklings can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. Whenever a player attacks one of your opponents, that attacking player creates a tapped 2/1 white and black Inkling creature that's attacking that opponent. This is a risky card because if they kill the Combat Calligrapher, then suddenly they can attack me with all the Inklings I've given them again, but it does fit the theme rather well. So sure, Felisa I think is the more tokeny one, as far as non-political. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, if it had counter on it, create, yeah. So Felisa I don't think quite fits the deck we're building. These other three do. Whenever enchanted player is attacked, create a 2/2 black. This one I like. Curse of Disturbance we can absolutely do, because it's semi-symmetrical. Except for the player who is cursed with it. So it's mean, but good for other people, including me. So I'll take it. Selfless Squire could be good, but it seems kind of meh. Keeper of the Court we already had. Blot Out the Sky, not a big fan of. Court of Grace at the beginning of your upkeep. Spirit token with flying. If you're the Monarch, create a 4/4 Angel creature token instead. I feel like that puts too big of a target on me to make me not be the Monarch anymore suddenly. What else do we got? Nils, what do? At the beginning of your end step for each player, put a +1/+1 counter on up to one target creature that player controls. Each creature with one or more counters on it can't attack you or planeswalkers you control unless its controller pays X, where X is the number of counters on that creature. Sure, you seem silly. Cunning Rhetoric. Whenever an opponent attacks you and or one or more planeswalkers you control, exile the top card. Meh. Each player puts a vow counter on a creature they control and sacrifices the rest. This is a very good Wrath, or semi-Wrath, for me, so Promise of Loyalty goes in. Scholarship Sponsor, I think we already put in the deck. Yeah? Yeah, we did. Okay. Keen Duelist was already in there, yes. Advocist. Advocist, I have the couple of other effects that do that sort of thing. I'm fine with it not always being there. I don't want too many risky things where I just build them up an army, they kill one thing and suddenly can kill me all of a sudden. Advocist does work very well with the Nils, though. Do I want a Ghostly Prison? I might want a Ghostly Prison. I'm gonna throw a Ghostly Prison in there for now. Fane, what do? Sacrifice creature, put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature, remove counter from a creature I control, create a treasure, sacrifice an artifact, create a 2/1 Inkling, and then a whole bunch of stuff to untap Fane. Fane is a fun little engine of his own. I do have stuff like Smothering Tithe in the deck, so I'm going to have artifacts I can just start things going. Maybe. He doesn't seem terribly political is the problem, so he doesn't really play into the theme. He's just like a small little value engine on his own. So I don't know. Let's throw these cards into the deck, and then we will look up some of those other things. Like, I do like Darkspire Dragon's idea about swapping life total cards, because boy, that gets funny in a heartbeat. Make sure nothing overlapped there. It did not. We are now at 91 cards, so we're getting close. Switch over to the view where we can take a look at the deck real quick while I pull up some of those cards. Here's a slightly better look at things. Alright, how would I even look for this? We want color identity, white and black, and we want the Oracle text to say swap life. See if that works. Search did not match any results. Let's see here. MTG cards that swap life totals. Exchange, that's the word I'm looking for. Exchange life. There we go. Alright, so go back here. Make it so this is the one that's showing up. Here's what we got. At the beginning of my upkeep, I may have 2 target players, so a repeatable one. That's funny. That could be a thing. Let's see what else we got first real quick. Everything Majig is not legal in this format. Evra doesn't quite do it. Target player and each of that player's teammates. Not quite correct. Hello, DigDug420. How are you today? Mages of the Mirror is a one-shot for 6 mana. I'd rather have that art of the enchantment that we saw. Mirror Universe. Hey, it's real good. It's $450. We ain't doing that. Profane Transfusion is a 9 mana sorcery. 2 target players to change life totals. I mean, that can be funny. It's 9 mana as a sorcery. Soul Conduit is instant speed. We'll be getting there. Is it me or has it been a while since I streamed? It has been about 2 weeks. For the past couple of months now, we've been doing... So, for the past 6-ish months so far, we've been doing 1 stream a month. That's Commander game with some of our affiliate friends and various other folks. I'm going to be announcing who our game this coming 2 weeks from now is going to be with at the end of this stream, so stay tuned for that because there are some nifty folks. And then we've started doing this the past couple of months where I build the deck that I'm going to play in that event on stream for everybody. So we haven't been streaming as much as we used to in the before times. We're starting to ramp it up. We're looking to get more streaming going soon. Stay tuned. Soul Conduit is also good. 6 mana, which isn't great, but, you know, that's fine. Soul Conduit we can definitely throw in. And it is at whenever I want it to be, which is better than the Axis, which is at my upkeep, I must do it. Any other ones? Tree Perdition does stuff. So yeah, Soul Conduit, good call. Darkspire Dragon, we definitely wanted that. What else do we want? We want, what is it? Will of the Council. Just look and see if there's any things that we missed that isn't already in the deck. Bite of the Black Rose. Starting with you, each player votes for Sickness or Psychosis. If Sickness gets more votes, creatures your opponents control get -2/-2, or people discard cards. That's fine. It's kind of meh. It's not really political. Course of Portal. Beginning of our upkeep. I need to let our person know that that's supposed to say your. At the beginning of your upkeep, starting with you, each player votes for Carnage or Homage. If Carnage gets more votes, sacrifice Course of Portal and destroy all non-land permanents. If Homage gets more votes or the vote is tied, draw a card. That's good. It's not fantastic. we have other Raz that do things more political than that already. Count's Guardian is trash. It's fine in 2-player games. It's not great in multiplayer, because at most you end up with 5/5 with protection from 4 colors, and then somebody just wipes the board and it's dead. Council's Judgment is already in the deck. Custody Squire could be good-ish. When it enters the battlefield, starting with me, each player votes for an artifact, creature, or enchantment card in my graveyard. I'm going to throw that in just because there's a chance people vote for things that they want me to have back to hold other people in check. I doubt that happens, but it could, and it is giving my opponents something to fight about amongst themselves, which I like. Soul Conduit, add card. There we go. Custody Squire. Magister of Worth's already in there. Tyrant's Choice is terrible, so we aren't going to do that. Next bit we want to do for political stuff is friend or foe cards. Some of these are going to be weird stuff. Regna's Sanction. For each player, choose friend or foe. Each friend puts +1/+1 counter on each creature they control. Each foe chooses one untapped creature they control, then taps the rest. Maybe. Are there only... Oh, in white and black, there's only these two. That makes more sense. I could have sworn there were more than that. We already have Vertice's Maneuver. Regna's Sanction seems fine, but not great. Or, I mean, it could. It's a sorcery, which very much limits it. So yeah, I don't know about that one. Alright, so where are we at? If I save this now... We are now at 93 cards. I need 7 more cards to throw in here. Monologue Tax, you can go in. You were on the fence. Might as well. So we are now at 94 cards. Let's refresh some of the views. And take a look at things. Here is where we are at. There's now too many things for me to show it all at once. It's the problem with building a commander deck. Is trying to present it in a way that everybody can see and read is tricky. What else do we want to have happen here? What other cards do you think I should throw in here, chat? I have 6 more spots. And I think we're doing pretty good on the political front. There has to be a few more things that I can do that are silly. I could just throw in a couple more lands just to make sure I'm hitting things. Scroll Rack. That was the thing. Do or die. What is do or die? Do or die. Why are there 550 results showing up? $153. What is going on? The invasion pile cards? I am so confused as to why so many things are showing up under do or die right now. Color identity, white, black, apply. 151 results. Additions, invasion. Oh, I see. We're do or die. Separate all creatures. Target player controls into 2 piles. Destroy all creatures in the pile of that player's choice. They can't be prevented. I see, that kind of thing. Separate all creatures. Target player controls. Destroy all creatures in the pile of that player's choice. They can't be regenerated. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. feel like there's sillier stuff we can do. Scroll rack is definitely an option. Let's switch so y'all can see what I'm actually looking at here. Oh, scroll rack was not an invasion. That's why it's not going to show up. And we can also get rid of card color and card color identity, since I'm just straight looking up scroll rack. Exile any number of cards from your hand face down, put that many cards from top of your library into your hand, look at the exiled cards, put them on top of my library in any order. It's very good, as Darkspire Dragon had pointed out earlier, with land tax and those sort of effects, because you just flood your hand with a bunch of planes. As long as you're happy with the amount of land drops you're making, you can scroll rack that hand away and pick up a new 7, and then if you're shuffling or doing anything, you get fresh looks, and you can just keep land taxing to get all of the lands out of your deck that way. So scroll rack, I think, does go in here. And that puts us up to 95. Have plenty of removal and wrath style effects. Evolving Wilds. We already have plenty of fetches. Don't need more fetches. Is there any other lands I should be throwing in here? Let's see. Utility lands it would be. We already have Makokoro. Oh, there's a couple of other everybody draws cut lands cards, isn't there, from Shadows? Over Innistrad? I think so. Yeah. I know there's some rare lands in Shadows over Innistrad or Eldritch Moon that did the sort of thing I'm thinking of. Type, land, apply. What is it? It's not Drownyard Temple. Not Warped Landscapes. How terrible land is Warped Landscape. Okay. Must have been Eldritch Moon. Skyreach Sanitarium is loot, but that's still fine. Yeah, we can throw that in there. Skyreach Sanitarium, add that. There's some of the Eldrazi cards that do stuff like that too, right? Battle for Zendikar, maybe. It's not Ally Encampment, not Blighted Cataract, which we can't do anyway. Blighted Fen. Blighted Woodland. I miss you, buddy. You are a land I very much enjoy. Oh, do we want things like Mortuary Mire? Those sort of lands? We could... I can't do the stupid broken one. Sanctum Vugan ain't it. Shrine of the Forsaken Gods. Only to cast colorless spells. That's no good for us. Spawning Bed is fine, but no. Sunken Hollow. Nope. What was the other Battle for Zendikar sets? I can't remember off the top of my head right now. It's Battle for Zendikar, and then... Crap, what was the next set in Battle for Zendikar block? Back when blocks were a thing. Oath of the Gatewatch. Thank you. I've been around too long. They're all coming together. Oh, this is gonna have all the expeditions in it, isn't it? Oh well. Crumbling Vestige, wasn't it? Oh, I can throw some of those in there. Those are good to have. We'll throw in, like, a Ghost Quarter or Strip Mine. Not Mirror Pool. Ruins of War and Refinite. Seagate Wreckage is just me draw a card. But that did remind me to throw in some of those other lands. Bajuk Bog would be good. I already threw in Urborg, right? Yes, Urborg's in there. Yeah, real quick, let's just switch back this view. We will throw in... Skyreach's already in there. Run Displacer to give op ETBs. That is a thought. Yeah. First, let's add some of those lands I was talking about. Wasteland, Ghost Quarter. I think that'll do. We don't really need Strip Mine. You did it. I got what you were talking about. CZ42, it's all good. Boat, Juka, Fog. Add, and then Eldrazi, Displacer, which can be used both offensively to tap down their creatures and defensively as well, and that puts us at precisely 100 cards with a bunch of lands. So I might shave a land or two still. But for now, we'll take a look at what the deck as it stands looks like. So yeah, 42 lands is a lot. It's a little more than I normally go for. I might shave that down a bit. But yeah, Eldrazi Displacer is a good call. Repeatable bounce or flicker of opponents' things or my things that can be used both good and bad seems like where I want to be. So yeah, this is where we are at. That is a lot of lands. That is a lot of lands. I mean, I guess we have things like land tax to get the basics out of our deck pretty fast. Yeah, I think I'm happy with this. Anything else you think I'm forgetting, chat? This does a lot. And I guess since we aren't green or blue, we don't have a ton of, like, you know, cultivate style effects. I have what I can do. I'm not throwing Tithe into this deck. I don't even remember exactly what Tithe does. What do you do, Tithe? Search your library for planes of target won't control land slain. Search for additional planes. Oh yeah, it's just the 1 mana at instant speed that does it. Yeah, is there anything else I am missing that I could shave a land or two for? Because I am willing to do that for up to at least 2 cards. So if there's anything you want to see me possibly play in 2 weeks, let me know. While you're thinking of that, I'm going to go ahead and tell you who I'm playing because we're nearing the end of the stream anyway. So, in 2 weeks, on the 26th of May, at 2 p.m., I will be playing Commander Kingdom with Ben Ulmer, Bengineering. I will be playing with Ashlyn Rose, and I will be playing, I believe, with Krim? Let me see. Hold on. I have this already set. Yeah. Asian Avenger, Krim, Ashlyn Rose, and Bengineering. That is who we're going to be playing in 2 weeks with this deck. This very deck, which I'm not entirely sure is 100% done, just because that is a lot of lands. Like, I am always a proponent for playing more lands if you can help it. I feel like there's an effect or two I'm missing that I maybe want to look at. Is there anything? I'm just gonna really quick look at the Silverquill precon. The precons they put out for the Silverquill, or Strixhaven stuff, is real good, by the way. Alms Collector. What was that one? I have a bunch of rocks. I'm not terribly worried about that. Alms Collector. If an opponent would draw 2 or more cards, instead you and that player each draw a card. That is good. That is good. It makes the game feel more fair, I guess. Is that really political? I don't know off the top of my head. There's stuff like Bold Plagiarist I could do. All of these things that we're listing just kind of help me win the game more than just be silly. I already have Makokoro. Secret Rendezvous I have. Promised Loyalty, Infernal Offering, we have that. Ambitions Cost, I don't really care. I could just throw in more random good, like, utility stuff like Fracture, Destroy Target Artifact, Enchantment, or Planeswalker, or Utter End style stuff, Vanishing Verse, if I really want more things. I could do Hunted Lamassu, some of those hunted cards. How are we planning on ending the game? We are planning on ending the game with Ink Shield, Shadrix giving me a bunch of tokens, Eldrazi displacing all of their things so that they are tapped, and big one was, where is it? Where'd it go? Torment of Hailfire. Torment of Hailfire is always a very reliable way to end the game if you need to. Oh, that's one thing I wanted to look up real quick. Were there any more black or white curses that I really wanted to throw against my opponents? Because I like me curses, and I kind of wanted to build Gen. Gen was the one I actually voted for on our Twitter poll for this. So, real quick, I'm just going to look up all the white and black curses and figure out if there's any that I want to have in the deck. And also show off the robust search function features you can use on cardkingdom.com. You can switch the views if you want to look at things quickly, or just a text view if you really want. But for now, there's this. Cruel Reality. At the beginning of Enchanted Player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. If they can't, they lose 5 life. That can be a way to slowly end the game. Curse of Death's Hold, meh, unless they're playing tokens. It's not that great. Curse of Disturbance we already have in the deck. It's pretty good. Curse of Exhaustion is a little too much, and a little too people are going to be afraid I'm playing no fun combo if they do that. Whenever Enchanted Player draws a card, they lose 2 life and you gain 2 life. That can be a thing. Misfortunes is search up other curses, which is good. I don't think I'm playing enough for that to be a thing. Exiles 2 cards from their graveyard. Who cares unless it's a very specific kind of deck. Whenever player attacks Enchanted Player with 1 or more creatures, the attacking player may put a 2/2 black zombie. That's fine. Forsaken, whenever a creature attacks Enchanted Player, its controller gains a life. It's pretty good. Curse of Thirst will slowly kill people. Curse of Vengeance. When an Enchanted Player loses the game, you gain X life and draw X card, where X is the number of spike counters on Curse of Vengeance. So that is definitely one of the Commander curses. It's built for Commander, because it doesn't really do anything otherwise. I don't know about that, though. That seems kind of silly. Overwhelming Splendor would be a way to win the game. Yeah. Torment of Scarabs. Trespasser's Curse. I know that the second page of this is also just Trespasser's Curse. Yeah, I don't know. Which one of these, if I was going to cut one land for one of these, chat, what do you think it should be? Overwhelming Splendor if I want to be real mean. Vengeance if I want to be silly and earlier on in the game. Draw and Siphon 2 life. Which one was that? It's not Vitality. Thirst, no. Forsaken, no. It's not Shallow Graves, not Oblivion, it's not Misfortunes. Fool's Wisdom. Whenever they draw a card, yeah, okay, that one seems fine. That one seems like a good way to keep people in check and gain me a bunch of life. And we are playing, remember, the Hall of Heliod's Favor or whatever it is, so I can buy back curses after people die. So now it's just a question of what do I get rid of? I think I don't want to cut up planes if I can help it. I could cut one of my fetches since we are doing a bunch of other stuff. Yeah, I'll cut Prismatic Vista, I guess. Because I still have Fabled Passage. I could just cut Fabled Passage and Prismatic Vista and throw in 2 of these curses, since I'm going to have a ton of things that get my planes out of my deck and other basics like land tax and those kind of effects anyway. I have like 2 or 3 different land tax effects in here. So yeah, let's do that. We're going to edit this. We're going to get rid of Prismatic Vista and Fabled Passage. We are going to throw in Curse of Fool's Wisdom. And then what is the second best curse, y'all? There is Exhaustion if I want to be real mean. Disturbance is already in there. Death's Holds, whatever. Cruel Regality. That can be such a nothing in Commander if people are making tokens or just any other way of actually doing stuff. There are those ones that incentivize other people attacking them. Curse of Thirst can slowly win the game. Vengeance if I want to be funny again. I might just throw in Overwhelming Splendor just to do it, because that is a way eventually for me to win the game, which is important. Winning the game is important, as it turns out. Curse of Fool's Wisdom. Yeah, I guess just Overwhelming Splendor. Why not? Overwhelming Splendor, add that. Save the deck. And that feels far more complete to me than just overloading on lands. Take a look at things one last time. There's the visual. Cool. So there is our deck for Commander Kingdom. In 2 weeks from today, at the same time, at the same place, 2 p.m. on May 26th, I will be playing against the Asian Avenger, Krim, from his own streaming channel, the TCG player, not TCG player, what is it? MTG Goldfish videos and whatnot. Indeed, Darkspire Dragon it does. Are we sure that winning is all that important? Ghosty Hosty, no we aren't, but having a way to do it eventually is probably a good thing. So yeah, I'm playing against Asian Avenger, I'm playing against Bengineering, Ben Ulmer from Loading Ready Run and a bunch of other stuff, and Ashlyn Rose from a bunch of her own stuff, cosplaying, and often a guest, and I know an employee and one of the editors for Command Zone. So yeah, tune in a couple of weeks for that. Thank you for joining me here as I build this deck. This is now the exact deck that I am going to end up playing against all of those fine folks. And we came in well under budget. 579 out of 1,000. Not bad. I prefer 5 1-hour games than 1 5-hour games. Sure. Our stream on that day lasts for 2 hours. There's been at least once where we've played 2 games in that amount of time. And yeah, we will... Not as well as the Asian Avenger, and Bengineering will just play something very red and aggressive. What did he play last time? All 3 of them have been on this before. I'm trying to remember. Ben played Vega, the owl from Kaldheim. It was a very silly deck that kind of mostly stalled everybody else. He did not end up winning, but it was a very silly deck that I remember. Last time Ashlyn was on, she played Doran, and who did Krim play? I can't remember who Krim played. I forget. Did he win that one? I think he might have won that one. I know Ashlyn won hers with Thran. I think Krim won. I do got wiggle room for Mirror Universe, but what do I cut? I also have wiggle room if I cut one of the most expensive, like if I cut Marsh Flats, I can put in Scrubland. I'm not gonna do that. But yeah, thank you again for joining me. It's been a blast. We have a deck together. I will get it put together in the next 2 weeks, and you can see it in action on Wednesday 2 weeks from now. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Tune in, get all your Commander singles and supplies at Card Kingdom, and have a wonderful day.